It's not like we needed any kind of expose or leaked messages and documents. What Democrats are doing is absurdly obvious. And now we can see their plan coming to fruition. Fulton County District Attorney wants Trump trial to begin March 4th, 2024, one day before Super Tuesday primaries. That's right. The reason why they're indicting Trump's lawyers, the reason why they're indicting Trump administration personnel is they are doing everything in their power to financially and politically hobble the Donald Trump campaign. I'm not entirely convinced they oppose Ron DeSantis. I think many of them feel that DeSantis is more easily controlled, would probably try to negotiate. And this has been my argument for some time. I'm not saying Ron DeSantis is a deep state plant or anything crazy like that. Just that Ron DeSantis' view of this is probably, I'm going to bring about these changes. These cultural issues are a problem. I'm going to get rid of them, but I'm going to go in and do things right. We're going to negotiate. We're going to figure out where we can get things done. I'm not sure that's the plan, but that seems like the Ron DeSantis plan. Now, don't get me wrong. Ron DeSantis did publicly say he was going to, quote, start slitting throats on day one. But his campaign's in free fall. Predict It now has Vivek Ramaswamy definitively in second place, and several polls are coming out showing Vivek in second place. I actually think Vivek is the better choice, but I like Ron. He's done a really, really great job in Florida. It's just his campaign is spiraling, and he can't seem to get a foothold. The argument from many people is that they are trying to shut down Ron DeSantis because he is the only one who can defeat Joe Biden. I do not believe that's true. The polling doesn't show it. I don't necessarily trust the polling, but I'm going to tell you personally, here's how I view things. Donald Trump is deeply unfavorable. Fact. Ron DeSantis is also deeply unfavorable. Vivek Ramaswamy is, I don't know, questionable. I look at Vivek and I see quick wit, well-researched, thought-out positions. He's running a great campaign. He's skyrocketing in the polls. And I think he could muster up a decent amount of votes. I don't see him defeating Donald Trump. And to be honest, even with the people who hate Trump, I don't know who could actually defeat Joe Biden. I don't see a legitimate reason anyone can offer as to why Vivek or Ron DeSantis could defeat Joe Biden. But we'll talk about this. The bigger issue at play is that Democrats are cheating. I'll say it again. Democrats are cheating. Now, of course, they're coming out and telling you that Republicans are cheating. They've been trying to suppress votes and all of that other nonsense. And that's stupid, age-old, typical politics. Trying to argue in court for why the rules should be one way or another, whatever. I don't think the system can ever be truly fair because, well, the Republicans' argument is that we don't want people who are dead on the ballot because you can get duplicate ballots. We don't want non-citizens voting. It sometimes happens. Let's clean up the voter rolls. We don't want people who have moved out of these districts or the state to come in, vote, and then leave and then go back to where they live now. Let's clean up the voter rolls. Makes sense, right? Democrats argue this is voter suppression and that people should register so that they can vote and every vote should count. And we're going to make it as easy as possible to vote. The Republicans are trying to remove people's names off the ballot so that they can win. It's all politicking. But here, what we see the Democrats doing is more overt cheating than, look, if you're a sane, rational person, there's no conclusion you can come to. If you're a liar and a cultist who desperately hates Trump, you'll probably just agree with the indictments. But let's be real. Indicting Trump's lawyers is insane. And they want the trial date. They want the trial to begin just before Super Tuesday, one of the most critical, if not the most critical days in a presidential campaign. CNN says Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has asked a judge to set a trial date of March 4th, 2024 for former President Donald Trump and his 18 co-defendants, a proposal that would put the Republican presidential candidate on a trial a day before he competes in the Super Tuesday primary contests. This means, understand, my friends, some may say it's the day before. He'll have done all his campaigning. He won't be able to campaign if he's trying to muster up legal defenses and meeting with his lawyers right before his trial is to start. And I got to tell you, I'm willing to bet that they will try to remand Donald Trump into custody. It is August. We are talking about half a year or more. It's not that long. Okay, in terms of the average adult lifespan. Time's flying, huh? Can you believe it's already August 2023? Now, it may be a little soon to remand Trump, but I believe they're going to try because they've already made the argument that Trump is a flight risk at the federal level. They included I think it was charging documents. It was the warrant for Donald Trump's Twitter. I believe it was not the warrant, but the filing for it to get the warrant. They said that Trump was a flight risk and the court agreed. If they believe that, why would they let Trump go? Well, for one, it's all political. At the federal level, they're saying we got to be very careful how we handle this. We don't want to be too overt, but we do want to cause damage to his campaign. Fulton County, these people are nuts. Charging his lawyers. Here's the message they're sending. If you work with Donald Trump in any way, we'll call you a co-conspirator. Jenna Ellis is a really great example. She's charged under counts 1 and 2 of the indictment. I believe there are 31. No. Is it 49? 41 maybe? Different available charges in the indictment. Donald Trump was hit with 13. Jenna Ellis was hit on counts 1 and 2, which was RICO. And the second was, I think it was violating oath of office as a public officer or something like that. They're basically saying by being Trump's lawyer, she was involved in a criminal enterprise. And by working on any of these requests, she had violated her oath of public office or induced someone to do such. That's insane. They want to make sure no legal firm will work with Donald Trump. Who's going to do it now? You mean they indicted his lawyers, calling it a conspiracy? Okay. So if you're a law firm right now and Trump comes to you and says, I need a lawyer for these cases, they're going to say, if I work to find you not guilty in these charges, they will claim that I am conspiring with you in furtherance of your conspiracy because they view the conspiracy as being law, as being fact, as being solid, physical. They don't think I'll put it this way. They probably don't believe it's true, but they're acting as though the conspiracy is already proven. And any action taken by anyone to help Trump furthers that conspiracy. So why would a law firm want to work with Trump? Here's Super Tuesday. Just so you understand the severity of what they're trying to do. Super Tuesday is the United States presidential primary election day in February or March, when the greatest number of U.S. states hold primary elections and caucuses. Approximately 1/3 of all delegates to the presidential nominating conventions can be won on Super Tuesday, more than any other day. The results on Super Tuesday are therefore a strong indicator of the likely eventual nominee of each political party. Right now, Vivek Ramaswamy is in a hard second place in the prediction markets. I believe we have 2 new polls that have come out putting him in second place. He is now surpassing Ron DeSantis. However, in aggregate, Ron is still in second place. Now, I'm a big fan of Vivek Ramaswamy. Certainly, there are people starting to pop up, Trump supporters, who are calling him out, saying that his opinions have changed on this thing and his opinion. Okay, dude, I really don't care about that. People's opinions change. Vivek is allowed to make mistakes. He was not an overtly political guy a year or 2 years ago. I am sure he's learned a whole lot about what's going on. I also believe that like any other person running for office, he probably said, here are the things I really care about and want to affect. And then someone asked him, what about foreign policy? He was probably like, I don't know enough about it. So like, here are some things you should read. He comes out and he says, here's what I think. He gets people going, you are wrong. Consider this. And he goes, I was wrong about that. I don't think every time a politician flip-flops on an issue, it proves they're malicious. I do think, however, Vivek, like any other politician, probably has areas of policy where he's weak on and is being advised to assert certain positions. It would be absurd to think otherwise. But I have my conversations with Vivek, and my opinion of him is that he wants revenge on these woke people. And revenge is probably the wrong word. He feels threatened by, and he thinks this country is at risk of ESG and woke policies. That's why he started a financial firm to actually counter ESG. He tells this story about how he got involved in this. He was basically attacked by BLM woke extremists, got people to resign from his company. And I'm like, I see that. If you were to come to me and attack something that I spent my life building, a multi-billion-dollar company, yeah, I'd certainly feel threatened, angry, and I'd take action against you. And that action would come in the form of legal challenges or running for office and making the conversation about ending what you're doing. Ron DeSantis, He's going to be termed out as governor. I think he sees this as the next logical step. The governor, where do you go from there? Well, maybe the Senate probably doesn't make as much sense, so he's going to go for the presidency. I can respect that. I think Ron DeSantis did a fantastic job in Florida, but he is doing a miserable job in his campaign, losing donors, losing supporters, and tanking in the polls. That doesn't mean we should count him out. And I'll put it this way. First, Ron DeSantis' supporters are the most vile and unapologetically awful people for the most part. Not all of them. Not all of them. We have a lot of fans. I know you guys watch the show that are getting behind Ron DeSantis. And I think those of you who watch the show and do understand where I'm coming from and actually listen to what I have to say. But I can come out. The other day I said, will Ron DeSantis, if Trump flees to Florida, will Ron DeSantis stand by his words and refuse to extradite? And I get inundated with a bunch of these DeSantis supporters be like, when did he ever say that? Nice dig at Ron DeSantis. And I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Ron DeSantis literally said he will not assist in any extradition of Donald Trump. Like, he will refuse to extradite Trump. I didn't say he's going to get a bunch of good old boys to surround his Mar-a-Lago home and then block entrance to federal law enforcement. I said he personally wouldn't do it. That's the question. So I'll tell you this. The DeSantis campaign put out deepfakes. It's slimy. It's dirty. And they never apologized for it. They doubled down on it. I think that's disgusting. Many of his most ardent supporters defended it. Tomorrow is going to be really interesting when we have this three-way debate. That's right. We're going to have a DeSantis supporter, a Trump supporter, and our original guest who was on the DeSantis camp, who is not on the camp, who is on the train, whatever you want to call it, in support of DeSantis, and is now veering away saying, I'm not so sure about this. We're going to have that conversation. I said, I'm not going to support Ron DeSantis because of the deepfake thing. I mean, it was really simple to come out and be like, no, we're not doing that. Then you get the Ron DeSantis Sonnenrad video. That's crazy. Come on. What is going on, guys? These people are just, I'm sorry, dude. When it comes to the Republican primary, Trump is the cool kids. DeSantis is the nerdy square kids. They make good points. They're pretty smart, but they're not going to win a debate because they have no charisma. Donald Trump guys, not everybody likes them because they're kind of brash and arrogant. You see where I'm coming. But let me say this. I'll vote for Ron DeSantis, even if he does not ever apologize for the deepfakes. He can do one thing. He can come out in a press conference right now and say, Don, come home to Mar-a-Lago, buddy. Put your feet up in your house. Relax. Because we will not allow extradition from our state. If Ron DeSantis were to say they will not allow Trump to be extradited, he'd have my support. He'd have my support back because that's a bold, bold move that proves a lot. Not that I'm happy about the deepfake stuff. No. But I'm looking for someone who's going to stand up to the machine. And if Donald Trump can't win and Ron DeSantis proves that he's willing to reject these political charges, that means a lot. Here's what I think Donald Trump should do right now. First, let me give you some context. Alan Dershowitz said, Al Gore, his legal team, and I tried to find uncounted presidential votes, lobbied officials, and fought in the courts in 2000. The only difference now, the candidate's name is Donald Trump. That's why this prosecution is an outrage. We all know it's true. We all know that every single time Democrats have lost, they've waged some kind of lawfare to try and win. That's what you'd expect. Donald Trump's team did the exact same thing. Democrats have been doing this. I'm not surprised by this. So here's what I think Trump should do. I believe that Trump should not be in New Jersey. He should be in Mar-a-Lago. He should be in Florida. It's safer, unless he doesn't trust Ron DeSantis that much. And he should await legal documents to be served to his lawyers. And he should say, when you come and knock on my door personally, to contact me personally so that I can receive a receipt of delivery of service, I will respond to these charges. For the time being, a public press conference is not legally binding and means literally nothing. That's what he should say. He should go home, go to Mar-a-Lago, and say, I await your peaceful knock at my door. Until then, have a nice day. I love this. Trump is supposed to surrender in 1 week in Fulton County. Okay. I assume this means that the Fulton County District Attorney's Office has sent the legal paperwork to Trump's legal team. They've accepted receipt of the documents and agree with them. I think that's a mistake. You don't just get to go on TV and say, we hereby declare. Doesn't work. There has to be legal service of documents. Now, Trump, I don't know what his strategy is. I'm not saying his strategy is wrong. Perhaps their strategy is, we're going to play ball with this to try and win and then take the battle to the election. I'm not so sure that'll work out. I don't know for sure. I have no idea. Perhaps it's only because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I would believe that Trump's best play is to say, serve me legal documents, legal paperwork. But I have seen a lot of people say that the one thing that puts this into an end right away is if all of those who are indicted refuse to surrender. Oh boy, are you going to have a constitutional crisis, especially if it's Donald Trump, especially if it's his lawyers. Imagine if Jenna Ellis says, I won't surrender. These charges are unconstitutional. They violate the right of a person to legal counsel. And no, I won't be showing up in Georgia to face political persecution. Mark Meadows already filed to have the case moved to federal court. It's remarkable to me where we are right now. Let me tell you about New York. During the COVID lockdowns, churches were shut down. Lawsuits were filed arguing that the governor has no right to shut down churches under the First Amendment. The lawsuits succeeded. The court said, yeah, you can't do this, dude. And so the governor said, okay, we're going to throw out that executive order. And then I'm going to make another one doing the exact same thing with slightly different wording, and you'll have to sue me again. That's not supposed to be how it works. The spirit of the ruling should stand. That you cannot shut down churches. Didn't matter. He did it anyway. Who's going to stop him? Nobody. The courts have no enforcement power. And that's the secret to the system. That's why the Supreme Court is often very terrified to rule in certain ways, because they know that if they push too hard, people will just say, hey, wait a minute. We can do whatever we want anyway. The court has no enforcement authority. And so what they say matters very little. And don't get me wrong, they have marshals. And the sheriff, like let's say that a court says you must do X, a sheriff can enforce that, but it really comes down to the executive. He can say to law enforcement, no, don't. And who's going to listen to who? That's where things get dicey. And so that's what I see. That's what I see going on right now. That Donald Trump could be unconstitutionally charged and he's supposed to submit to this? Well, that doesn't make sense. I believe before Trump and any one of these defendants surrenders in Georgia, there should be an emergency filing to the Supreme Court to have this thrown out. They should not see any kind of processing or booking or fingerprinting or mugshots. But oh boy, this will be interesting. They're putting Trump in a decision dilemma, as it's called. He can submit, bow on his knees, crying to a county prosecutor, which he'll probably end up doing. They will get fingerprints, they will get mugshots, and they will put him in jail. I'm not saying they'll remand him to custody, but he's going to jail. That's what they've said. Maybe they won't. Trump often negotiates in the past several indictments that he gets to come in, make his statement to the court, plead not guilty, and then leave. Fulton County said, no, we're doing this by the book. Mugshot, detainment, and county jail. How are you going to put a former president in county jail? The Secret Service going to stand or go to jail with him? How is this going to work? They're putting Trump in a decision dilemma. Either you submit and we get everything we want, or you deny, become a fugitive from the law in our state. We remove your name from the ballot, and then we claim Trump is a fugitive. I think the smartest thing the Trump team can do right now is go to Florida, not claim to be a fugitive from the law, just simply say, we're awaiting the service of legal documents to understand what the charges are. Look, you can't just go on TV and announce these things. That pushes back a little bit. In the meantime, they should be filing to federal courts like Mark Meadows has done and to the Supreme Court, which is probably what Mark Meadows' plan is, and then say, until the resolution of this, we will not abide. There should be, I don't know if you'd call it an injunction or whatever, because it's a criminal proceeding, but there should be a stay or whatever on the current charges until federal courts and the Supreme Court, most likely, has a chance to hear the charges and determine whether or not under the Constitution Trump can even be charged. But I got to tell you, the constitutionality of the charges, considering especially that a court clerk published the indictments before they were even voted on, I think that shows that it's a sham. When it comes to Trump, perhaps Jeffrey Clark and Mark Meadows, those who worked in the administration, I believe they're all legally protected to varying degrees, but for the most part, legally protected. I believe the argument that the president can't be charged for acts he undertook as president unless he's impeached is sound. It makes sense. The president can commit crimes, but they have to be impeached for those high crimes and misdemeanors before you can bring about true criminal proceedings. That seems to make sense. Impeachment and conviction, removal from office, and then criminal charges. Think about it this way. If Trump did shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, you would then impeach him for murder, convict him for murder. He'd be removed from office and then charged civilly as a citizen. But this is why the reason is the argument comes up as to whether or not Obama had the right militaristically to bomb a cafe in Yemen, killing an American citizen. I believe he doesn't. I believe he should be criminally charged. And that starts with impeachment, which is effective indictment, conviction, and yes, post-presidency. So that way you bring about these charges. That's why Trump was impeached after he was out of office. You see how that works? They say they can still do it. Now, as for the rest of Trump's legal team, not so lucky, not so lucky. They're not going to get the same arguments. They're going to say we are lawyers, and they're going to say, well, you don't have the same protections as the president. They can argue that working on behalf of the president confers the same protections because they were offering legal advice. Jeffrey Clark is the most hilarious indictment, in my opinion. This is a guy who was the acting assistant attorney general. It's like the second highest legal position in the country, offering up legal advice on the Constitution to the president, and they're calling him a conspirator. Now, that's amazing. What you do as president in interpreting the Constitution can now be considered a criminal action. We'll see where this goes, I suppose. We know it's a sham. We know exactly what they're trying to do. I have to wonder, if this does hobble and remove Donald Trump, who then runs? Lastly, what I want to see, to reiterate, I want to see Ron DeSantis say, you will not set foot in Florida to extradite Donald Trump. Now, it's a win-win situation for Ron DeSantis. If Trump does go to Florida and say, we await legal documents to be served before we answer these ridiculous charges, and then Ron says, not only will we not assist in the extradition because it is clearly a political charge, we will not allow federal law enforcement to intervene in state law and take one of our residents out of state for what is clearly an unconstitutional charge. Ron DeSantis can stand on the they published the charges before the grand jury voted. This does not appear to be legal, constitutional, or legitimate. Now, here's what he gets out of it. One, he looks strong by defending Trump. And two, Trump would have a hard time campaigning and leaving the state. And how's he going to come out and attack Ron DeSantis if DeSantis took a strong position like that? But I got no idea. I can only tell you that this is unprecedented. We have no idea where this goes. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.